And we've made it 1 year penalty for inciting riots. We took the freedom of speech away.
Oh, it's the 250th anniversary of the birth of this country, and we're taking away people's First Amendment rights. Why? Well, on the night of July 4th, 2025, a group of people gathered outside the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas. During this protest, fireworks were set off, property was vandalized, and a police officer was shot and wounded. He thankfully survived. But 9 people were tried in federal court. All 9 were convicted in March 2026, and on June 23rd of this year, 8 were sentenced by 2 Trump-appointed federal judges in Fort Worth, Texas. Here are the sentences. Benjamin Song was convicted of attempted murder of a law enforcement officer. He received 100 years in prison. Marcelo Rueda received 70 years in prison. Cameron Arnold, Savannah Batten, Zachary Evitz, Bradford Morris, and Elizabeth Soto each received 50 years in prison, and Daniel Sanchez Estrada received 30 years. He was not at the protest. He was convicted of moving a box of anti-fascist magazines after the protest ended. The combined total of years in prison for these people is 450. The judge applied a terrorism enhancement to every single count and ordered all sentences served consecutively rather than concurrently. Democracy Now! Reports the following.
Who wasn't even at the protest. He received a 30-year prison term for conspiracy to conceal documents after he moved a box containing anti-fascist magazines and pamphlets. Another protester, Autumn Hill, received a sentence of 50 years after being convicted of rioting, providing material support to terrorists, conspiracy to use and carry an explosive, and use and carry of an explosive device, which was fireworks. This is Hill's wife, Lydia Koza, speaking after the conviction in March.
Federal prosecutors in this case told a panel of Northern District of Texas residents with a straight face that lighting off fireworks on the 4th of July was terrorism, was a riot. I cannot think of anything more un-American than that. And I cannot think of anything more inhumane than the horrors that ICE is inflicting through its state terror on our communities.
During the trial, federal prosecutors argued that wearing all-black clothing, using the Signal encrypted messaging app, and possessing left-wing magazines constituted material support for terrorism. I mean, if using the Signal encrypted messaging app is a crime, then I think they should probably be talking to Pete Hegseth and a bunch of other people currently working in the Trump regime. And as for wearing all-black clothing, well, those of us who live in New York City are in trouble. Co-defendants who pleaded guilty to the same conduct are facing approximately 15-year sentences. Those who exercise their right to trial receive sentences, as I said, ranging from 30 to 100 years. This is the first sentencing under Donald's September 2025 executive order designating Antifa, which isn't even a thing, a domestic terrorist organization. Because again, it's not a formal organization. It doesn't have any leadership structure. There's no membership roster. There's no headquarters. There's no federal charge of domestic terrorism under existing law. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said in a statement on June 23rd, 2026, quote, Antifa terrorists who attack law enforcement and federal facilities will face swift and uncompromising justice, unquote. If by that you mean will not receive justice at the hands of federal judges who are in the tank for Donald, that would be an accurate statement. The longest sentence imposed on any defendant convicted in connection with the January 6, 2021 attack on the United States Capitol was 22 years, and that was an actual attempted insurrection in which the people convicted actually did commit the crimes of sedition. The 22-year sentence was given to Enrique Tarrio after his conviction for seditious conspiracy. Stuart Rhodes received an 18-year sentence for the same offense. And I wrote, again, wondering why those sentences were so comparatively light, considering the gravity of the crime. On January 20th, 2025, in celebration of his second inauguration, Donald signed proclamations granting clemency to nearly every January 6th defendant, including the worst among them, Tarrio and Rhodes. On June 24th, 2026, PBS NewsHour reported the following.
President Trump signed the National Security Presidential Memo 7. It's a directive that says that the government should use its law enforcement resources to focus on domestic terrorist organizations. And he said domestic terrorist ideology could include anti-capitalist views, people who have extreme views on race and gender and immigration, and even people who are opposed to what the directive described as traditional teachings on marriage and the family.
Federal prosecutors have also tried similar cases outside of Texas. On June 16th of this year, prosecutors charged 15 people in Minneapolis with conspiracy and assault for allegedly impeding immigration enforcement operations, describing several defendants as members of Antifa groups. The prosecutions followed the same federal policy shift that expanded the use of terrorism-related allegations in protest cases. And that's one of the biggest problems here, is that anybody who's protesting this fascist regime can be labeled an Antifa group. Why? Well, because technically speaking, we're all against fascism. And of course, because Antifa is not an actual organization, it's very easy for the federal government to level that claim, no matter how unfounded it might be. A quick note. The easiest way to support what we do is to like this video, share it with someone who needs to see it, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. Now, the First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to assemble peaceably and to petition the government for redress of grievances. The Supreme Court has held in multiple decisions that political speech is entitled to, in its own words, quote unquote, robust protection. In Brandenburg versus Ohio in 1961, the court established that speech can only be prosecuted as incitement if it is both directed toward producing imminent lawless action and likely to produce it, not either or. Wearing black clothing and carrying political pamphlets does not meet that standard. ProPublica and Frontline published a joint investigation in April 2026 documenting more than 300 people who've been arrested during immigration enforcement actions and charged with interfering with law enforcement. More than a third of those cases were dropped or dismissed. In Chicago, the case against a group known as the Broadview Six was thrown out entirely after alleged prosecutorial misconduct. As of June, ICE holds 73,000 people in detention, which is the highest number ever recorded. More than 70% of those held have no criminal record. Yet, Mark Wayne Mullen, head of DHS, says the exact opposite.
And all we're doing is we're going after the worst of the worst. And we have Democrats that are more interested in protecting illegals and criminals because, remember, 70% of every illegal we arrest has either pending felony charges or have already had felony charges. So we're not talking about just your grandmas on the side of the streets that are working at a bakery. We're talking about true criminals. 70% of them are true criminals that we're taking off the streets. And Democrats and this left movement is protesting that because they want open borders and they're for criminals running rock in our sanctuary cities.
Well, I mean, there are criminals running rampant in our federal government, and we are against that. That's true. There is no Democrat I'm aware of, and certainly none holding office at the moment, who is for open borders or letting hardened criminals into this country. But once again, this is governance by lying, governance by cruelty, governance by exhorting the people listening to you and watching you not to believe your lived experiences. Just keep believing those lies that they keep telling us. Sufia Khalid, a defense attorney for one of the Prairie Land defendants, said on June 25th, 2026, quote, "Now anyone engaged in basic protests with the wrong political beliefs can be labeled a domestic terrorist when they have no intention of violence, have not engaged in any violence, not interested in any violence," unquote. As we celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country's birth, we are subject to a regime that is shredding the Constitution, including most sections of the First Amendment. And that should send a chill down our spine, but it should also galvanize us to real concerted action against the fascists who are dismantling the rule of law and our civil liberties. Please take a second to like and share the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Mary Trump Media channel. Thanks for watching.